The Xbox Series X has been out for nearly 5 years now. I can't believe it's already been that long. And while its internals were quite impressive at the time of its initial release, what about that outer shell of theirs? What did you think about it? Did you like it? Did you think it was great or way too plain and ho-hum? Because the latter thoughts were the ones that immediately came to my mind, as well as these other thoughts like, how the heck did the Series X's final design get approved? Because I think most 7-year-olds could have came up with that design. In fact, should we even be using the design word at all? Because I don't really see any design. What design? There's a design there? Where's the design? I can't find it or locate it anywhere. I'm really serious about that thought, too. All of those elements on that front face of it is basically and arguably necessary and are not visual creativeness or attractiveness. Nor is any of it really any appealing artistic choices and additions or embellishments. If those necessary things were not there, that entire front face would just be a completely blank slate. No visual excitement, no brilliant creativity. Just nothing but an ultra-plain and bland cuboid that would suggest to me that they didn't hire any visual designer for that console shell at all. The only artistic piece or part of that entire front side is the Xbox logo/power indicator light at its upper left there. And that has always been a very cool and creatively designed logo. But even that was arguably necessary to just tell people that this was a Microsoft box, as opposed to Sony one. Now, I know what you super abstract types are already saying, that ultra bland and plain look of its is to the intended and desired final artistic look and outcome that they wanted for that product. Okay, fair enough, I guess. Then I hope they didn't pay someone $100,000 to make that design, because it is not worth a single dollar to me. And I really believe that any employee of Microsoft right now could have created or come up with that practically totally blank canvas-looking design. Heck, forget anyone who actually went through their hiring process and is actually being paid by Microsoft. I'm quite sure basically anyone in this entire world could have come up with that ultra-plain look and design of it. I'm sure someone is already saying right now, though, that with video game machines, what's on the inside matters a lot more than what's happening on the outside. I think that's a pretty reasonable statement. But this is an arts and design-focused channel, so that's what we're going to be focusing on. But before you click away, get this. I think that the PlayStation 2's external design was one of the worst ones in video gaming history. But that didn't matter nearly as much since it went on to sell so exceptionally well. But the Series X hasn't been doing so hot in this current generation's console war. And neither did the Xbox brand do so greatly in the previous one, as well. And both have started out with less than stellar external hardware designs. While Sony has only had one flop with their console designs thus far, if you ask me, every single one of their home gaming consoles have been exceptionally designed except for that second one. So, what am I trying to get at with all of this? Well, that exceptional design track record, I really do think, is saying a lot about Sony overall, as a very thoroughly competent and capable home video games console maker. And just like nearly all of their external designs that have looked amazing, their sales numbers have performed strongly or exceptionally, with virtually all their console generations as well. Are you starting to see a possible correlation here between having an excellent console design and also garnering a high number of sales? Now, that does not mean that there's a surefire correlation between a console's strong sales numbers and having an excellent external console look. Because Sega has basically always had amazing designs for all their home consoles, even the portable ones. And I don't think Sega has ever won any console generation wars. But Sega's technology has always seemed inferior to their competitors throughout all of those generations that they were still producing consoles in. But Sony? Sony has pretty much always been very competent with both their consoles' external designs and the gaming technologies that have powered their machines. So that's the ideal, as alluded to be thoroughly competent in this console's war and game, and that's why they've been such a winner in it, since they first threw their hat into this home consoles ring some 30 years ago. But what about Nintendo? Nintendo has wisely and smartly chosen to do their own thing over the past few generations, and I think that's what has really kept them in this home video games console war. And the fact that they have always had an incredible lineup of first-party games for each new generation that has really given them a strong competitive edge in all of these consoles battles. In fact, I'd say That fact of them just having an incredible portfolio of highly winning intellectual properties alone has always given them a very strong advantage in this video games fight and war for the consumer's living room. Well, let's get back to our main topic of this video, which is about the Xbox Series X's external look and design. So as of early August 2025, the Xbox Series consoles have reportedly sold less than 30 million units in total, while their main rival, Sony's PlayStation 5, has sold over 80 million units in practically the same amount of time. And between the two, which console clearly has a much better exterior design to me? The PlayStation 5. Sony's console design shows and says to me that they are more excited to be in this fight, more enthusiastic for this business, and more sincere about coming out on top of this war. So then, with all of that having been said, what would my final score be for the Series X if I were to give it a numerical score that is out of 10 total possible points? And keeping in mind that it most definitely is a design that's a minimalistic approach, if I had to give a Series X a numerical score out of 10, I'd give it a 1. It's basically saved by that power indicator light alone from being an absolute 0. So if we still do see the Xbox brand in the next generation of the home video game consoles war, and it does seem like there's going to be at least one more console generation, hopefully Microsoft basically does a 180 with their console designs and presents to us an absolute legend and a perfect 10 for the ages.